I probably need to do a clean recording once some noise happens, but anyways, just in case. So within our home screen, so we have our iPhone and our mobile screen. So when you hit that little arrow, you get all kinds of different mobile screen sizes. You can choose any one you want. It just means that, like, you know, you might end up with a little bit more space on width and height. But for the most part, when your site responds from going from a desktop to a mobile, all of those elements would stay the same, no matter which one of these sizes you pick. So it's literally just your own preference. I'm an iPhone user, so I like more space, so I just pick the biggest one anyway. Down here, you have iPad size. That happens as well. You need to design for desktop, then you need to design for iPad size when it responds to that size or that screen size, and then same thing for mobile, because everything jumps down. If iPad responds the same as mobile, you're going to end up with really big, probably more so one column elements, versus iPad, you could probably go 2 to 3. So that's why that's there. So there's iPhone. For web desktop, there's a few options. This day and age, I don't do anything but this, which is the 1920 width. Obviously, all of these, it gives you a height. I'll go into that afterwards, but our height changes, right? We scroll. So that's where your height's gonna adjust no matter what. Instagram story sizes or your social story sizes, and then obviously your custom. So just for the purpose of today, we're going to go for our iPhone screen size. So here's XD. Feel free to ask questions when you need to, okay, folks? So real quick here, we have our basic tools. So obviously our arrow tool, our basic shape tools, line tools, oh goodness, our pen tool, text. This little sucker gives you another screen size. So just to show you, if you click that, you can do it, you know, manually. Or when you click that, you also get all of, just like the home screen, you get all of your sizes up as well. So you can essentially go and say, okay, I want another screen like this. Undo that. And then obviously our zoom tools. When you head further down here, so on, I think someone's about to get here. So our first little tab here is our library assets. I'll go into those a little bit more afterwards. Then from here, we have our layers. So basic layers, same rules as every other project. Name your artboards. I'll show you how to do that momentarily. Name your artboards, name your layers, organize things, because when you're building even a small-ish 5-page website, like you're going to end up with 1 million pages. So the more you can organize from the beginning, the better. Last but not least, we have plugins here. And I'll show you how those work as well. Over onto this side, so we have our basic Pathfinder tools. They're all grayed out because I don't actually have any shapes to show you. We have components. I'm not going to get into that today. It's not necessary for that today. We will get into that once we are building out our apps. Our basic transform tools, just as they work in Illustrator. Responsive size, don't need to worry about that right now. Same as you don't need to worry about this. Our appearance and our grids and our layouts. So if you turn that on, we get our grid. And I talked about that in one of the lectures last week, the web anatomy one. So I'll show you how to adjust that as well shortly. In a nutshell, that's the basic shape. I'm going to talk through all of this stuff right now, and it's probably going to go like straight through. And then you're going to open it up and you'll be like, oh, I remember her talking about this. I wasn't really listening, but now I kind of remember. So I'm not going to go through this into too much depth, because if you're anything like me, it might just mean getting in there and touching and tapping a few buttons. So up here, we have our home button. That brings up our home screen. Where I just went through all of these features, so I'm jumping back a little bit. That's our design tab. Our prototype tab, we're not going to worry about right now. It does some very cool things, but it's most definitely not where I need your brains to go right now. No need to overwhelm. So let's leave that for now. If you want to go ahead and look at it, you're welcome to, obviously. And the share tab we will definitely need as well. And I'll show you that at the end. Oops. So back to our design tab. So first and foremost, naming our layers. So I'm just going to call this tutorial. And then we can see now our artboard, it's called tutorial. So if I go and I add a rectangle on there, it's all within my tutorial layer, and I can call this tutorial box. So again, you obviously know how to name layers. It's just so important to do so now. So when we are building out a square, we get more of our options show up here on the right hand side. So just as we had previously, we have I mentioned previously, we have our Pathfinder tools, same as all of our other little grouping Pathfinder. These are alignment tools. These are Pathfinder. Our transform tools. So making sure obviously our width and our heights are here, and then our access points, very important as well. Fixed position when scrolling, that's something you won't need to worry about right now. That'll come with your prototyping. For appearance, so, oh, actually, I'm gonna jump away because I'm not gonna do this now. I apologize, I forgot to go into one very important thing before I do this, or two things actually. When you start to get moving, there are some kits that Adobe gives you that are going to be incredibly helpful. How we access those, we go File, Get UI Kits. It launches you to the Adobe website, and you can literally just go and scroll through. So, you know, like anytime you're looking at anything Apple related, they all have a distinct look and feel. Their buttons look the same. You can literally download their kit, and you can get your buttons to look just like theirs. They supply them, and you can open it up in XD and it's done. So the reason why this happens, you're like, oh, but this is essentially kind of like downloading a stock photo or downloading a group of icons for Illustrator. No one's reinventing the wheel here. Every website is basically the same. It's up to you to add some styling, adjust your colors, maybe your corners, etc., to make them more so your own. But these components, someone's here, these components make things really fantastically easy. So you're welcome to go and flip through and download them. Download as many as you want. These are actual downloaded XD files, so it's not like they're not a plugin. This is an actual file. We will need this wireframe one at some point, but I won't need you to. And I went ahead and I downloaded this one. I'll just go ahead. Oops, I'll go ahead and open this. So when I downloaded this one, these little pictures obviously give you a preview of what's in there. I downloaded this because a nice soft color palette. I really liked their buttons. All these little wavy lines, all of that stuff's included. So that's how you can flip through and make a decision as to what you want to download. So literally just go and open that up. There's everything. So here's some components, which would be your buttons, your colors, your box shapes, etc. So you can literally like copy and paste. And you're like, okay, so now these are what my buttons are going to look like. I like this font, but you can go ahead and change the color. So important, so not really so important, so helpful most of all. So this is really fantastic. I just like this. I like the rounded boxes. All of this styling is quite nice. Everything's always grouped, and they will be popped in as components, but again, you don't have to worry about any of that quite yet. What a lot of people like to do as well, especially when you're presenting something to a client, you want to give it like a very real look and feel. So we have all of our little phone icons up at the top. Morning. So, you know, everything we would generally kind of see on our phone or on our websites, I mean. When we want to just give a nice visual look and feel, you know, we want to pop in a keyboard. So it looks like, you know, when someone clicks on a form field, what it looks like when the keyboard pops up, or what it looks like when you're plugging a phone number in. So really quite helpful. And again, there's, you know, what the top of the phone will look like, that nice little shaded bar. So it's already done. You don't have to go and recreate anything. And those are free. Morning. Most importantly though, when you do download those, what I have seen is people just download a whole bunch of them and then plunk a whole bunch of stuff on the screen, and does it not place with intention. Nothing's been edited, so still make it your own, okay? Next that I want to go over is the plugins here. These are really great. You can hit that plus sign. Obviously we're in XD, so it's gonna be here, and you can go through and you can literally download any of these plugins. I generally just like the ones for icons. So coffee, double click, and now I have a coffee cup icon. Heart, hearty, heart. You click, and then it pops in there. These are also vectors, so you can enlarge or scale them down as much as you want, and then you can easily change the color and you can quickly edit them. I'll show you that briefly. Okay, so apologize, I kind of zipped around and jumped around there. Oopsies, let me just delete these because when I pasted that stuff in there. All right, so let's first of all, what I first like to start with is going through these little elements here. So I'm gonna just build a quick color palette. I tell you, when I'm always put on the spot, I always build the most god-awful color palettes, but let's hope this works out. So again, I make a little box here. I've got a border automatically. I'm just going to turn the border off. And then I have my fill. So let's find one of my, something like that, like my wall color. And let's go with the guitar. A little more on the, not looking so bad. Let's see. Does anybody get really hung up on building a color palette? I mean, you should. I certainly do. And I've also almost brain dead from building colors for my bathroom. We just get renovated. And I'm not afraid of color, in case you haven't been able to tell. Okay, so I just built these little boxes. I don't know if anybody does this in Illustrator. I think lots of people do. So you have your quick reference, you can eyedrop them. You might build these in a little color palette in your swatches for Illustrator. That's also, I think, very helpful as well. But what we do here is, there's my 3 colors I want to do. So again, just like any project, we don't want to make it look like a clown college. We want to make sure that everything is nice and consistent and there's not a billion different colors. So building out a small color palette to start. We click and drag on those little squares because they have all of our colors, and I literally hit that plus sign, and there's my color palette. So now I can build a shape, and I can just click this to turn that fill off, or I can